When I entered college in 2018, work from home was still a fringe idea. A few companies did it, especially forward-looking startup companies, but the vast majority of people expected to spend their lives inside of an office. Then COVID happened. In 2 years, the number of workers working from home almost tripled. 60% of Americans have the flexibility to work from home at least 1 day a week, and given the option, 87% of workers would choose to. But here's the thing. I don't want to be a party pooper, but I think working from home could actually be a really bad idea. In this video, I want to share the 5 reasons that I went into the office every single day of my first year at work. When I was in college, my main area of study was computer science, which is how I landed a job as a data analyst. But I also majored in business. It was in my business classes that I learned a very simple but very important lesson. That lesson was that no matter how hard you work or what you do, the amount that you're paid depends on the value that you add. That means if you want to maximize your earnings, which you probably do, you need to maximize your value. So the question then becomes, can you add more value when you're working from home? My guess is probably not. We live in a knowledge economy, which means that any high paying job probably requires a lot of communication. Even as a very technical data analyst, the value that I add comes from understanding and then communicating the results of my research. And it's just easier to communicate in person. You don't get feedback from other people's speakers, you don't zone out and look at your phone, and you can pick up on way more social cues. So when everybody goes into the office, there's way more opportunity to communicate better and add more value. That interaction can unlock a lot of career success. So, worse communication is one of the biggest consequences of working from home. But in the long run, you might lose something just as important. The company I work for is a research company. That means our product is innovation, which is the generation of new, useful information. It's one of the four sources of economic growth and is extremely important. The problem is, while we often think about innovation coming from a few genius individuals like Einstein, the Greek philosophers, or Thomas Edison, innovation usually takes a team. So the COVID experiment did show that a lot of companies are able to keep functioning when their employees work from home. But in the long run, can they keep innovating? I know, for me personally, that my best ideas have always come when I'm working with somebody else to keep refining my thoughts. This iterative process with fast feedback is absolutely crucial. I just don't know that that environment can be replicated by work from home employees. And for me personally, I want to be on the front lines of innovation. Now, there's another reason that working from home might be a bad idea, and it has nothing to do with quality of work. Instead, it has to do with trust. Employees are what keep a company alive. That means managers have to put a huge amount of trust into the workers that they hire and promote. And that trust goes a lot deeper than just looking at a resume. Now, I will say this might matter a lot less for early career employees. Hiring the wrong college student can be fixed, but hiring the wrong CEO could devastate a company. So, to get an internship, a resume might have been enough, but in higher level positions, that just doesn't cut it. And here's the thing, like it or not, managers go with who they trust. No matter what your qualifications are on paper, you need to build a trusted relationship with those that are in charge. You need to prove that you're ready for more responsibility. Part of that trust is built through just doing consistent and quality work, but part of that trust is built through consistent interaction. It'll just be harder to build that trust when you're working from home. The last two reasons that working from home could be a mistake actually relate to the greatest advantage of working from home. I call this geographic arbitrage. But before I explain exactly what that is, I did want to tell you about a tool that I personally used to land a six-figure job immediately out of college. It's called Jobscan, and it's who I partnered with this week. Everybody knows that when you apply for a job, there's a good chance that only a robot reads it. But Jobscan is a robot that works for you. It's extremely simple and intuitive. You just paste in your resume and the job description of the job you're applying to, and Jobscan will give you all sorts of helpful feedback to help you tailor your resume to that specific position. Landing a big job out of college or just getting a better job than the one that you have right now
could literally be the difference in tens of thousands of dollars. So Jobscan might be a very valuable investment. But in case you're skeptical, you can even do a few scans for free because Jobscan is counting on you loving it so much that you're willing to upgrade, which is a pretty awesome business model. I'll put an affiliate link in the description in case you want to check them out yourself. And again, this actually is a tool that I personally used to land a six-figure job out of college, which is why I'm so happy I get to partner with them. Anyway, let me get back to explaining what geographic arbitrage is. While the value that you add is a very important component of how much you're paid, another important factor is the cost of living where you work. That's because, historically, labor markets have been geographically dependent. I'll use myself as an example. Right now, I have a great salary of just about $100,000 a year. But if I had the exact same job in the city that I grew up in, I'd probably earn around 30,000 less dollars per year. And everybody loves to talk about Silicon Valley salaries, but those salaries only exist because the average studio apartment in San Francisco is going for $3,500 a month. But when you work from home, you can theoretically work in a very expensive area, all while living in a very inexpensive area. That means all of that extra money just goes right into your wallet. So if you could earn Silicon Valley money all while living in an apartment for $1,000 less dollars a month, you're saving $12,000 a year. That's a heck of a deal. But the problem is, I don't think it will last forever. Companies aren't dumb, and there's no reason that they'll pay big city money if they don't have to. And many companies are already making this adjustment. So while this geographic arbitrage might be the greatest benefit of working from home, it might also be the most short lived. The final reason that I think work from home might be a mistake is because, at least in the long run, it might actually backfire on some of its biggest fans. The reason for this is actually very simple. Employees aren't the only ones that can leverage geographic arbitrage. If you can do your job remotely from a cheaper city, state, or even country, then your company can also hire people in cheaper cities, states, and countries. And why wouldn't they? This has already happened with a lot of manufacturing jobs, because companies realized it's a lot easier to manufacture in Southeast Asia and just ship it to the United States. And this same trend might happen with a lot of white collar jobs too. But even without a mass export of jobs, the work from home experiment has proved that companies have a much larger hiring pool than they initially thought. The big tech companies don't have to hire from San Francisco and Seattle anymore. If the position can be done remotely, then any qualified individual in the nation can compete for your job. So, if you work from home, you're much more replaceable. But if you work from the office, there's a much smaller pool of candidates that can compete for your position.
Now, obviously, personal circumstances will vary. If you're working from home, maybe let me know why down in the comments. But work from home isn't the only popular trend with my peers. Another popular trend, especially amongst the financial influencers on YouTube, is building multiple sources of income. Building multiple sources of income makes sense on the surface. Why limit yourself to just one source of income? More money is better, right? The problem is, when I really dug into it, I realized that having multiple sources of income is completely unnecessary, which I explained in this video. And even worse, having multiple sources of income could actually make it harder to reach financial freedom. So make sure to check that video out next, and I'll see you next time.